So hey guys, what's up? In this video we are going to learn about the history of high courts in India. We will learn how the high courts came up in India, how they slowly developed, what were the provisions of the acts under which the high courts were developed. We will look at the evolution of the high courts. A lot to know, a lot to discuss in this particular video. So without further ado, let's get started. So guys, we find that the first high court was established in 1862 and it was established in Calcutta. And after its establishment, the existing Supreme Court, the Supreme Court which was established in Calcutta after the Regulating Act of 1773, and it was thus established in 1774, and the Sadar Adalats. We have seen all the Sadar Adalats, Sadar Diwani Adalat, Sadar Faujdari Adalat. We have seen that these were the topmost courts where the appeals from the lower courts came. We find that these courts, they were abolished after the establishment of high courts in India, and their powers were transferred to the high courts. Let us look at what was the composition of these high courts. We find that the composition of these high courts were that there was one chief justice and there were 15 other judges. But we find that in this particular case, the judges, they had very specific qualifications. If the judges, they fulfilled the particular qualifications, then only they could be appointed as the judges of high court. So let us look at what were the qualifications which were required for the judges of high court. First is that 1/3 of the judges. So let's say if there were 10 judges, so 3 out of those 10 judges, they had to be barristers, that is lawyers. They had to be lawyers and they had to be practicing, and they should have at least 5 years of experience, at least 5 years. The other 3 out of the 10, the other 3 had to be members of civil services, and they had to be working in the civil services for at least 10 years. And the remaining judges, so in our example, out of the 10 judges, 6 are covered, so the remaining 4 judges, they could be from the bar, that is All India Bar, or the civil services. The judges of Supreme Court and Sadar Adalats, they directly or automatically became the judges of high courts. And the Chief Justice of Supreme Court, he also directly became the Chief Justice of High Court. Now we will see what was the jurisdiction under which the high courts, they performed. What was their jurisdiction, whether they could handle the civil cases, criminal cases, what kind of cases they were able to handle. We will look at that. So first of all, what were the categories of people who came under the jurisdiction of these high courts? Because we have seen that in the case of Supreme Court, we find some of the people, like let's say in the case of criminal jurisdiction, we found that the natives, they did not come under the criminal jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. But we have to see the same thing, whether these same provisions applied to the high courts as well. We find that the jurisdiction of high court was over all the people residing in Calcutta. So if a Britisher is residing there, if a native is residing there, if some other person who is employed by company is residing there, all of them, they came under the jurisdiction of high court. All British and European subjects residing beyond Calcutta. So if someone who is residing beyond Calcutta, let's say in Delhi, but they are British or European subjects, they also came under the jurisdiction of high court. And the persons residing in jurisdiction of court subordinate to high courts. As we see nowadays that there are many subordinate courts which function under the authority of high court. Similarly, at that time, the provision was such that the people residing in the jurisdiction of a particular subordinate court, they also came under the jurisdiction of that high court. Appeals. Let us look at how the appellate system of high court was at that time. where the appeals from the High Court went, or whether the High Court entertained some appeals from the lower court. Let us look at that. We find that for criminal cases, the High Court's decision was final and no further appeal was available to any person, to any court. The decision of High Court was final. No appeal was available. The person had to follow whatever decision the High Court gave. For civil cases, the appeal was available to the Privy Council, but only if the matter of the case was above rupees 10,000. So if the matter of the case is below 10,000, then that person had to follow the decision of the High Court. There was no other choice available to that person. So till now we have seen what was the basic structure, jurisdiction, appellate system of the High Court. We find that after the establishment of High Court in 1862 in Calcutta, some subsequent charters or acts were passed which led to development and improvement in the High Court system in India. So let us look at what was the changes made after the acts of 1911 and 1915. We find that after the act of 1911 and 1915, the number of judges, maximum number of judges, we have seen that the maximum number of judges was 16, but after these acts it was increased to 20. And after the act of 1915, the Chief Justice and the 20 other judges, they were appointed by the Majesty, and the Governor General and Council, they were also empowered to appoint other judges if they required. So let's say there was a lot of work, the functioning of the High Court became hectic, a lot of cases were coming up and the judges, they were not sufficient to handle the cases. Then in such situation, the Governor General and the Council, they were empowered to appoint some other judges as and when required. And what was to be the qualification of the judges? As we have seen earlier, that they had to be barrister or advocate of Britain, having at least 5 years of experience. And the member, some other members who were to be appointed as the judges of High Court, they were to be members of civil services, Indian civil services, with at least 10 years experience and specific experience of 3 years as a district judge. Remember guys, 10 years of total experience as a civil servant, but 3 years of specific experience of handling the office of district judge. And a person having served as a judicial officer not inferior to that of a small cause court, having 5 years of experience. This was the third condition which was required, that if a person has served as a judicial officer and his office or his post was above the office of small cause court and he had at least 5 years experience, then my friends, that person was also eligible to be appointed as a High Court judge. And the last and final qualification was that a pleader, that is an advocate, having 10 years of experience as a pleader of High Court. What? That a person who has been working as a pleader for at least 10 years in the High Court, that person also could be appointed as the judge of the High Court. We find that in 1935, Government of India Act was passed after the recommendations of Simon Commission, which came in India in 1927 and it submitted its report in 1928. Based on this report, the British government in India, it passed an act of Government of India Act in the year 1935. Let us look at what were the provisions made in this particular act regarding the High Courts. We find that the Chief Justice and the other junior judges, which were appointed by the Majesty from time to time as and when required, right? And their tenure was fixed. Now they cannot hold the office till they died. They can't hold the office till they died and they were still working when they are poor, when they are old, they don't even have the energy to come and sit and hear all the cases. No. Now a specific retirement age was decided and that age was 60 years. They could be removed before the end of the tenure. Like nowadays also we find that the judges can be removed before the end of their tenure on the ground of misbehavior or infirmity of mind. Remember guys, they could also be removed. They were not immune. They were not above the law. If they were found guilty of misbehavior or they were not capable of handling the functions of the office because of infirmity of mind, they could be removed before the end of their tenure. And if there was excessive load of work and pending cases, then the Governor General and Council, they could appoint additional judges, but the tenure or the specific term of these additional judges, they could not be extended beyond 2 years. So these additional judges could be appointed only for the period of 2 years at max. As we have seen earlier, there were specific qualifications which were required for the people to become the judges of High Court. But this Government of India Act 1935, it abolished the provision of the 1/3 judges from barrister and 1/3 judges from Indian Civil Services. Now an Indian who had served as a judge of High Court for not less than 3 years, he could also become the judge of High Court. This act gave the opportunity to us Indians to become the judges of High Court if we have experience of being a judge of High Court for not less than 3 years. The salaries and the pensions of the judges, they were to be fixed by the Majesty and they cannot be reduced to their disadvantage. So this provision made sure that if there was a tussle between the Governor General and the High Court, the Governor General was not given the power to reduce the salary of the judges so as to maintain his supremacy. No, this power was not given to the Governor General. This provision made sure that the Majesty decided what was going to be the salary of the judges of High Court, and it also made sure that the salary, it could not be reduced so as to put the judges at a disadvantaged position. We find that the jurisdiction of the High Courts in this particular act was same as that of the Act of 1915. Let us see a specific power which was provided to the High Court at that time. It stated that the High Court had the power to transfer any case to itself from the subordinate court if the parties of the case appealed so. So if there are two parties X and Y, their case is going on in a subordinate court in a particular district, but they feel that the justice will not be provided in a fair and impartial manner. There may be some malpractice or malafide if the case is handled at the subordinate court. So the parties can request the High Court, and then if the High Court is satisfied, then the High Court can transfer the particular case to itself and then decide upon it. Let us see the appeals, where the appeals went from the High Court in this Act of 1935. We find that the appeals lay only to the Federal Court of India if the High Court certified that the case involved a substantial question of interpretation of any act. This made that this provision, it says that if the High Court was sure that the case, it required a specific interpretation of the act of a particular law, then the High Court can provide a certificate to the parties that they can appeal to the Federal Court of India. But here also a specific condition was placed, and that condition was that they could only appeal to the Federal Court of India only if the subject matter of case was above 50,000 rupees. If the subject matter of case was, for example, 40,000 rupees and it still involved a specific or substantial question of interpretation of the law, but then still due to this monetary condition we find that this particular case could not be appealed to the Federal Court of India. Federal Court of India, guys, was also established after the passing of this 1935 Act, and this court, as we have seen right now, that it heard appeals from the high courts. So guys, that is it for this video. If you liked the video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel, and I will meet you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me.